If you could ask Kate what she felt when she opened the door to her roommate's room, surprise would be low on the list. Those high on the list, however, would be disgust and annoyance, to say the least. She opened that door to see Jen, lying on the floor of her room, sprawled over two men, dressed only in their boxers, buried in beer cans and bottles. Kate slowly picked up two pairs of jeans that she identified as the men's and tossed them to the pigs. They were awake and slowly groping Jen. Kate screamed at them to get out of the house. The two men had moved faster than anything Kate had ever seen. They had their pants on in 2 seconds and they ran out of the house before Kate could even figure out what was going on. Kate slowly walked over to Jen to assess the damage. She was lying there, sprawled across the ground, half naked, wearing only a pair of boxers and a single sock. Kate took notice of several $20 bills sticking out of the waistband of the boxers. Kate walked around the room, looking for a shirt. She found one, luckily, right under Jen. Kate had to lift Jen to get the shirt and surprisingly, she was very light. She pulled the shirt on over Jen. She couldn't help but think how helpless Jen looked. After she had the shirt on Jen, she slowly shook her awake. Jen said one word, bathroom. Kate helped her up as she stumbled across the hall into the bathroom and closed the door. It sounded as though Jen made it, which was good. Kate didn't want to have to clean more messes than she already had to. Kate quickly located the stereo and turned it off. She could hear the birds outside, and it was peaceful. Until the sound was interrupted by Jen throwing up into the toilet. Jen heaved as she drew herself off the cold, hard floor in the bathroom, facing the toilet, yet again, to throw up some more. Afterwards, dropping to the floor again. She wasn't sure why she drank so much all the time. It only led to more problems. She then remembered how good it felt to feel nothing at all. After about an hour, she felt herself getting better, at least good enough to realize that she dropped about $60 out of her boxers. She always wore boxers. It was her little way of rebelling against her own gender. She always hated girls. They were always whining about how bad everything is, and always getting giddy about boys and things like that. Not to mention the whole sugar and spice thing never really resonated with her. This didn't mean she had any problem exploiting her gender. She loved exploiting the gullible fools that boys tend to be. While she was thinking about all of this, she was standing up, working her way over to the shower. She got in and turned the water up to the medium level that she thought was so relaxing. As she washed her hair, she heard something fall in the kitchen. She thought it was just Kate being clumsy and dropping things again. She spent about 6 minutes in the shower. She could never stand being in there for very long. As she dried off and stepped into the hall wearing her towel, she saw Kate pacing around the living room on the phone, probably with her boyfriend. Jen couldn't stand that guy. Something about him always irritated her. She walked into her room and stood in front of the mirror admiring the shape of her body. Jen is about 5 feet 4 inches, 126 pounds, slim, and her breasts are a 32B. She is 22 years old, even though everyone always guesses she's 16 or 17 due to how young she looks. As she got dressed, she slipped on a pair of boxers, a pair of jeans, a bra, and a white tank top, as well as socks. She was walking towards the door to put her shoes on, so she could go watch the football game with her friend Mark, when she noticed something. A whimper. As she walked past the couch, she saw Kate lying on her back. She was staring at the ceiling with her eyes red and puffy, tears streaming down her face, and her lip was quivering. It was obvious to Jen that Kate was depressed about something, but she just kept walking towards the door and put her boots on. As she closed the door she said, "I'll be home around 9. As the door closed, Kate lay on the couch, crying. She was wondering why he would do this to her. She thought they had something special. They were going to last forever. How could there be another girl in his life? She did not get it. She had just seen him. Just gotten back from a trip to his house for a week. Then she remembered. That time he went to check on the boat. He was gone for nearly 4 hours. She couldn't stand it anymore. She let out a sob. She realized it was useless being caught up on a boy she had lost, so she headed into her room and closed the door. Jen seemed to be laughing hysterically at the grown man on screen crying, because his wife had just died. Mark said, "You're just cold sometimes, Jen." She replied, "I don't care. Why should a grown man be crying? I haven't cried since I just don't cry. So why should he? Mark retorted, it's a bit different when a girl cries, and when a guy cries. Oh, it is. I thought the only difference was that guys were actually emotionally stable and didn't need to cry to vent any particular emotion, Jen said without batting an eye. Mark noted as he nodded at the clock, you know, it's pretty late. You should probably be getting home. Jen spun around on the bar stool Mark had in his kitchen and suddenly remembered Kate. Crap. When did it get to be 1 a.m.? She exclaimed as she ran out of the house, grabbing her motorcycle helmet off the ground on the way out. What Jen returned to was far from what she left. She pulled into the driveway to see a few of Kate's friends loading a large trailer, which was hooked up to Kate's van. She took off her helmet as she stepped off her bike and walked into the building, saying, "Hi," to anyone she happened to see on the way up to apartment 7. When she walked in, she saw the entire apartment bare. She remembered that today was the day the lease was up. She was confused, as was obviously visible on her face. She found Kate in the corner of the living room, helping direct her friends. Jen asked what was going on, and Kate said, almost too coolly, I can't stand to be in the same state as that idiot, so I'm moving into your old house. The one you grew up in. I spoke to your aunt, she was doing a good job taking care of the place, and she said we could stay there as long as we want. You can come too if you follow a few conditions. Kate was almost a completely different person than the warm motherly figure that Jen had known since she had moved in. She could sense the wall that Kate was building around her, and for some reason, she cared. Why, yeah. I'll go, Jen replied, almost instantaneously, spare a few stutters. Kate nodded, and said, your opinion in the situation doesn't really matter. I already packed your things, and we're leaving in about an hour, after everything is in the trailer. Jen was in shock. Was this really the same cheerful, warm girl who had helped her to the toilet the same day? More importantly, is this how she, herself, had acted towards everyone, with the same cold demanding demeanor? Jen walked through the house, feeling like a ghost. Thinking back on how difficult life must have been on everyone around her, due to her own selfishness. She was ready to give anything to make up for how mean she had been. Jen noticed that everything was gone, and she heard Kate yell, we're leaving, come on. So she slowly walked out to the van, got in the front seat, and reclined the back of the seat.